Dr. Massey and Dr. Gallen to sit next to representatives from Rybovich Huizinga Holdings. We need to know what kind of workforce do our businesses need so that our educators can create the programs to make us more efficient. That is the purpose of this. We are partnering with Life Sciences Southeast Florida. This is a group of every biotech, every college, every state university within our region to find how to become more efficient to attract the biotech industry or the industries that the different counties want to start to attract. Martin County, for example, I mean, their big thing, they find themselves to be very, very similar to you. Many of the things we heard in your county, we heard in Martin County as well. Martin County made it very clear. It said, we love our 4-story limit. We love our low density. We hear you. All that is noted. We don't want growth. We love our ranchettes. But they also said, we want to be able to stop paying the high rates that we're paying for fiber communication because we're hostage to a couple of companies, and we would like to be able to provide more capacity so that as the medical field advances, we're able to attract the doctors and the hospitals and the researchers to our area, because right now we can't do that here. They can do it in the South, they can do it in Orlando, we can't do it right here. So each county has been very clear about preserving their local identity and identified which one is that issue that would make them more competitive, that would make this an investment plan that they would be willing to support, at least in part of, or the part that they're interested in. As I said, it's intended as a tool to become more competitive, not just because someone decided here locally that it would be a good idea. It's because the rest of the nation is doing it. And many of the other local governments and cities have decided that we cannot stay behind. The rest of the nation is operating as partnerships. It doesn't mean that they're blurring their boundaries. It doesn't mean that they're giving away their rights to governance. It just means that they're setting aside certain differences to identify what are those key things that will make them more competitive. Excuse me. This is, as I said before, it is a public-led effort. When we did come here, I don't know, about a month and a half ago, and had our first meeting, we asked the community what their hopes and concerns for the future were, and we heard you. We heard loud and clear local decision making. We heard loud and clear, preserve property rights. We heard loud and clear fiscal responsibility. And again, I'm not just saying it. It was posted the next day on the website, and I believe that was input. That was positive input. That was the kind of input that we're looking from the different communities to make sure that we can assist you in furthering your goals. Now, after we left, and I wish we would have had a room with this many people that day, because I believe we would have gotten even additional or more input. After we left, we got a lot of calls from people that said, well, I didn't have a chance to say what I thought, but would 750 be a good opportunity to help us with our issues with the cleanup of the lagoon? And we said, as a matter of fact, there are a number of counties that have that issue, all the way down to Monroe County, and beach renourishment, and the cleanup of the Everglades, and the agricultural industry. Finally, I think that one of the key things that 750 is it's strategic alliances, not unlike many of the ones that your staff mentioned today. The United States, even as a nation, we have alliances with other countries. That doesn't mean we become those other countries. We don't know when we need, our neighbors in the United Kingdom to help us with something. It just means it's a strategic alliance with a common goal to help us fulfill whatever those issues that you decide may be. So with that, in 4 points, it was sort of a summary of what 750 is. I'm going to be very brief because this is my last slide. It is a voluntary process. Someone said, yes, you can go in or out at your pleasure. You came in at your pleasure. You can leave at your pleasure. And I think, look, I'm not here to tell you it's final, but there's a number of other organizations that are going to continue to work on this, and it'll be up to everyone to decide whether the county is accepted back in. Now, I can tell you that we have received calls from a number of organizations and groups in the county, from the college to the school board, to cities like Fellsmere and Sebastian, to even communities like the community of Gifford, requesting to remain a part of the partnership. And the list goes on. So 750 is going to continue. Just know that there are a number of organizations within your county that wish to continue to be partners, and I believe you have received letters. And all we're saying is, leave the door open. If you don't want anyone to come and tell you, and you want to make sure you don't lose any additional opportunities for your citizen, embed your plan as is. We have offered this to you as elected officials before. Grab your plan and say, Indian River County's plan, our vision, the one everybody loves, is our chapter in 750, and be done. And at least that leaves the door open. And again, it's not mandatory. You will implement as much of that as you decide to regulate. The resources, your staff went over those. You got professional, technical, human resources, which, quite frankly, are incredibly valuable. I hate to go back to the data warehouse, but I do believe that that's going to be an amazing tool for all of you. And finally, a lot was said about future funding opportunities. This is not a carrot and a stick approach, at least not from us, the locals. This is what the message is, that those regions that show that they have their act together, that understand what they want to be, what they want to do, that are part of a bigger system, that can show that their dollars are not going to be spent and then another agency is going to come right behind it to spend dollars, good money after bad, are those that are going to get the federal funds. And all we want to do is be ready and keep that door open. So again, my request to you is wait until there is a plan. Wait until there's something that you can really react to and point to and say, we specifically don't want this, because there's nothing there right now. And in the meantime, insert your plan and make it your chapter of 750. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments and your presentation. Sir?
Hi, my name is John Featherstone. I live at 875 Crescent Beach in Vero Beach. Where to begin? I actually postponed the time for myself to speak, to listen to the gentleman right there. I appreciate your service. I appreciate your work with Ronald Reagan. I love his ideology, and I love the words that you were speaking. However, if you look back at Ronald Reagan's career, incredibly forthright as far as everything he believed, smaller government. But the facts remain that government spending increased. He himself in his diary in the Reagan Library said that he made a mistake on the 3-to-1 deal. Okay, so what we're talking about federal money that's being involved. I'm sure probably everyone in this room has taken out a mortgage, taken out a loan, some kind. A government, everyone talks about the 16 trillion or so dollars. Those aren't the real numbers. You need to look at the unfunded liabilities. And those liabilities, it's estimated between, some figures put it as low as 130 trillion and some as high as 210 trillion. Now, this is money that needs to be invested so that we can pay off all the debts that's owed by the government to countries like China and Japan, who's recently caught up with China in actually purchasing our debt, as well as Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. The list goes on and on. So we need to look and see, a government that can't straighten itself out They can't pay its own debt. I mean, compared to GDP, the unfunded liabilities are off the chart. Do we really want to take money from them and then assume that they're going to leave us alone when they can't pay their own bills? It's a question. I mean, we have a number of agencies like the EPA, the FDA, always involved. These are agencies that define pizza as a vegetable. I mean, who makes a salad with pizza? I wish I had prepared more, but I didn't know I could come here until about an hour before I did arrive. My main focus, besides work and family, I have 4 kids, is research. And I usually don't do it on the local scale, but I'm starting to become a little more aware of what's going on with the 750. I would look at a couple things in history, such as the idea that I guess the UN and its growth has been beneficial for a lot of countries around the world. See how that's gone. There's a reason why people in Africa chase the UN out with, just rocks because they don't have anything else. I would suggest, basically doing your own research. Don't just turn off the TV, do your own research. It'll open your eyes. And read books like The Law by Bastiat. It's an incredibly intelligent book. Also, Economics One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. They will actually break down some of the ideas that are being talked about and show you how it's a simple media manipulation that's caused people to believe that it's correct. Research the non-existence of a Great Depression stemming from 1920. Why don't they talk about that? We had worse numbers than we did during the Great Depression, yet the government stepped out of the way and we came right back. So I appreciate that you guys taking the time to listen to people. I will be in contact now with you. I'll give as much information as I can, which sadly you may not have time for, because I know you guys are busy with all kinds of issues. This isn't the only one. But I appreciate your time that you've given us. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your input as well. Sure.
I was giving Dan some head signals that I had to get out of here. He was kind enough to say I could go before him.
Can we give Dan some head signals? Got to put it back.
My name's James Patrick Hill, better known as Toby Hill. I reside at 685 Lake Drive.
Welcome.
I moved to Vero Beach in 1980. I've been here ever since, and it was, unlike the distinguished gentleman over here to my left, I have not been appointed by 4 governors, but I was appointed the owner and operator of a small business by myself. I was appointed as the chairman of the Indian River Tea Party by my wife. And I was appointed guardian of our Constitution and our freedoms, as is everyone else in this room, by the Founding Fathers. Okay? So I am here to tell you on behalf of the Indian River Tea Party, we oppose the 750 plan. We have approximately 2,000 members. Okay? When I arrived in 1980, I worked beside Bob Keating and a number of others that were in the building industry to write our first 5-year plan as required by the state at that time. I don't believe Bob and I had a gray hair between us. Things have changed a little bit, haven't they, Bob? But in just a few observations, in regards to planning, 750. Now, I've run a business since 1984, and I've put together many plans. And I can tell you after about 1.5 to 2 years, that plan is history and a new plan is required. I don't know who would think a 50-year plan makes the least bit of sense, unless, perhaps, you plan for a living. Most of us plan to achieve an end result. But if you plan to plan, then a 50-year plan will ensure you will plan for the next 50 years. Okay? So most of us plan for an end result. Now, planning also here in Indian River County has been done and has been done well. And I would venture to say that you can tell when you drive inside this county and when you drive out. And it speaks loud and clear that our idea of planning is quite different than our neighboring counties, and that we have a different ideal, and we have a different expectation, and we've achieved a different outcome. So I really prefer the planning we have done, because when I leave and I come back and I cross that bridge, it speaks to my soul, and that's why I come home. Now, in regards to transportation, okay? Mass transportation. They may tell you otherwise, but it is all subsidized. Now, you need to be careful when you use that term subsidized. Most of you might think, oh, it pays for 80% and we subsidize 10 or 20. No. Most of it is subsidized to the levels of 80 and 90%. It doesn't come close to paying for itself. What does? It is the automobile. Every one I own, I paid for. Every bit of gas that goes in it, I paid for. And the government gets their share of that. There's a gasoline tax. And it pays to improve the roads and to build the roads. But why is it that we have our love affair with the vehicle? Is it not because we are fiercely independent? Does it not elevate my independence? I get in it when I want. It takes me where I want, when I want. It is not mass transit that calls to me. Talk about the funding for a minute. Okay? We are tied to it. He who pays decides. They are bribing us with our own money. Now, I know $5 million in the federal government's budget isn't much, but then there will be other funding to follow. We run deficits that are immoral. They are insane. When will we as Americans stop running to the trough and asking our federal government for money? It is our money. They only get it by taking it from us. They are bribing us with our own money. When will we stand on our own 2 feet and say enough? If not now, when? If not us, who? It is time to make a stand, to be a great American and ask, don't send me my neighbor's money. Have a backbone. Have personal responsibility. So I implore you today to vote to get out of 750, because the further you go down that road, the more you will get tied to it. And there will be great pressure to enact all of which they put in the plan. Make no mistake about it. Remember that Social Security was voluntary. Taxes, income tax started at 1%. Where is it today? We are much better on our own. We have done quite well on our own. Please vote to keep us independent and free. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr. Corrigan?
Yes, name is Dan Corrigan, 1720 East Rosewood Court. I just wanted to voice our opposition to 750, and we are in the agriculture business, cattle, citrus, and I think I can speak for everyone else I know of in the agriculture industry in this county, and voicing our disapproval of this, and it's a serious erosion of private property rights, and it's the beginning of centralized planning, the end of home rule, and I just think the supporters of this should not be fooled. It's cleverly packaged, and last but not least, we in this county, I think we've done a great job of planning, and we'd like to do our own planning versus having a bureaucracy out of our area plan for us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephen Zurich, 945 37th Avenue, Vero Beach, actually the unincorporated area. Well, I did not prepare a presentation or anything, but I have done some research. I have looked into this somewhat, and what I'm finding is, I'm looking at the 750, what information there is on 750, and for that matter, briefly, Agenda 21, is it's not this big boogeyman that so many people are afraid of. It's not a mandate. It's not something that's going to force us to give up our homes or anything else. It's a guide. It's a model for ways to follow, for ways to do new planning, for ways to organize, make our communities more effective through newer concepts, newer ways of doing things. Now, the idea of 7 counties, yes, that's pretty much explained here by other speakers, but those things being said, I'm curious as to what good can really come from our being part of 750. I don't think we should be afraid of it, but I think we need to know more about what this what good this will do for Indian River County itself. It's curious to me how the interest area ends with us, yet I'd like to say I think Commissioner Bryan had the right idea on the December 4th meeting when he said we can't stick our heads in the sand and we can't ignore people around us. I'm thinking in particular about Brevard County, with whom we share the Indian River Lagoon or Intercoastal Waterway, however you want to call it, and part of our western parts of the county belong to the South, I believe the South Florida Water Management District, I believe, which, or I'm sorry, the St. John's. Is that correct, St. John's? Which puts us more in common with the city of Orlando than it does with the city of West Palm Beach. Pardon me. What I'm trying to get at is, I think there needs to be more consideration of what we will get out of this, what good will come from it, before you actually make a decision. I'm asking you to look a little deeper, consider more of what good this will do and how this will improve things for us, and really what interests we do have with the other 6 counties of this plan. Let's not be afraid of it, but let's really check it out. Let's really be sure about it before really getting all the way into it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Eddy. Thank you, Commissioner. As all of you know, I've served in elected and appointed positions here in this county. As an elected official, one of the things I accomplished on City Council was that if you pick up a city agenda, every single item on it has an elected official's name next to it. You know who brought it forward. And I would just ask that from this day forward, if we pick up a county agenda, we know what elected official brought the item forward, so we know who to thank or who to blame. Thank you.
Mr. Eddy, could you, I know I might not tell you this, but could you please state your name and address for the record?
I'm sorry, Brian Heddy, Vero Beach, Florida.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you. Mr. Corrigan.
Excuse me. I'm wondering my voice. That's no concern of yours, though. I don't know whether it's something really going wrong or whether it's just too many birthdays, but anyway, I am losing it, and I apologize for the way I come across. But I was curious, and I wanted to, I was just wondering if the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council has been as wonderful as everybody said it was going to be. I don't know how it came to be. I wasn't consulted, and I made many trips down there trying to get some help for private property rights and such, along with some friends of mine, Ben Bailey and our attorney. And we never could speak. nobody ever let any of us, if we were conservatives, we couldn't speak down there. And that was, now Maggie Hercella was, who was Janet Reno's sister, was the chairman or president or whatever she was called. I don't remember at this point, but anyway, she wasn't real anxious to have anybody hear what we said, and no one ever did. So I guess things have changed down there dramatically since then. I hope so. But this plan that we've been talking about fits the description of a previous plan that the county rejected. And I said something about it I can say about this plan too. It's sort of like the HIV virus. Once you get it, it's all very difficult to get rid of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scurry. Peter, welcome.
Hi, I'm Peter Robinson with, I live at 315 Great Twig Road, Vero Beach, Florida. I'm president of Laurel Homes, Laurel Builders, and Laurel Agency. And I really didn't want to speak, but some of these people got me stirred up over here, so I thought I should at least make a couple comments about what I heard. The first thing is I was at the original meeting. And when I came to that original meeting, it reminded me too much of too many other planning meetings I've been to, where the guy comes in and he sticks you up front and he starts asking you questions, and then he says, "This is your input." Well, he didn't get any input from anybody. And I know Nancy Cook felt the same way. You know, the hair on the back of my neck went up, and I said, "This is BS." And then when they started talking about a 50-year plan, I said, "Gee, that reminds me of Boone Pickens." Boone talks about the energy plan that our government has right now. And he says they keep talking about a 30-year plan. He said they don't need a 30-year plan. They need a plan for tomorrow. And that's what we're missing. And that's what we need. We need a plan for tomorrow. And then the other thing, I remember the godfather of planning in this state was John DeGrove. And he came up and gave a talk to the Council of 100 back in, I think it was about 1991, 92, when we were in another recession like this. And his comment was, the one thing we forgot with these plans is we forgot the economy. And that's why we have in our plan today an economic section. Because without an economy, you can forget all the rest of this planning. Finally, the chairman of the group who spoke says that, they maybe spent some money not too well originally and things like this, but he still wants to keep it going. And what that reminds me of is good old Milton Friedman. And Milton was an advisor to President Reagan, and he gave a speech once on the problem with government. And he said, in government, what you do is you come up with good ideas and you start it. And if it doesn't work, you say, "Oh my God, it's not working. We're going to have to get some more money and make it bigger." Whereas in business, if you start something that doesn't work, you close your business down, and that's what we're doing here. I think you guys are a business group, and you understand it's time to close it down today. And finally, the other comment, they say, well, it doesn't really count. We're just going to give you advice. And what that reminded me of was my young son, one of my sons, when he was in school. And, he was in gifted classes and all that. And when he showed up at Gifford Middle 6, he was suddenly in the stupidest class you ever saw. And we said, well, how come he's in this stupid class? They said, oh, he took this test. And he did so poorly that that's where he tested into. And he wouldn't admit it, but later he did tell us the truth, which was, well, they told us the test didn't count. And he said, so I looked at the kid over there and I said, I bet I can beat you done. And guess what? He won on the test. And that's what happens with this deal. They say, it doesn't count, but let me assure you, it will come back and count.
Done deal, pal. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is
Welcome.
Charlotte Munsick, and I live at 1416 15th Avenue here in Vero Beach. And when I told people where we were going to be living, they said, Vero Beach in Indian River County? I said, yes. He said, you found the crown jewel of Florida, set in a setting of farms, groves, and sparkling water. You found the most beautiful place to live. And I think I am here because of that. Not only that, but this county where we live is the result of a wonderful partnership between the voters and taxpayers and the commissioners who tended it in the past and helped create what we have today. Let us keep what we have and enlarge upon it within our community and not go outside of that to be directed by others who do not have the same investment that we have here. Let's opt out of 750. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Well, is someone else at the podium?
Last but not least, I'm Fred Luongo from 10th Court Southwest in Vero Beach. Been here since 1979. I remember remodeling Pat Corrigan's bathroom in his house. He didn't remember me, but he will in a minute. Worked for every contractor in Vero Beach just about, built half this town. Moved here when I was 19, year-round work, year-round sunshine, year-round pay to get that tan. So I come from forced busing in Boston, Massachusetts. I don't like being forced to do nothing, to go to jail, to speak my mind. I speak my mind, what God tells me to speak. I don't get forced. It'll flow. I'm Mr. Zork. And everybody in here spoke their mind. I think half the country didn't speak their mind when the elections just left. But we're in this together. We build one another's houses. We share one another's drinks at Panera. Mr. Keating, we love you. We pray for all this board when we raise our hand at home or if we watch it on TV when Brian Hetty's speaking. We respect our neighbors, our brothers, but this is Indian River County. It's Vero Beach, Florida. It's where God put you. Don't be forced to bus around.
Thank you, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone else who would like to speak on this issue? As promised, everyone had fair and equal opportunity to be able to be heard before this commission in this important decision. At this time, at the urge of several commissioners, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then you will hear from your commissioners. Thank you. The meeting will be now called back to order. Please find a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we're calling the meeting back to order. Thank you. Once again, we truly appreciate everyone taking the time from their busy day to ensure that your voice was heard. And the presentations are now concluded, and I hope that everybody who wanted to speak did have the opportunity to speak and utilize that opportunity. At this time, I'd like to now go back to the board, and Commissioner O'Brien, I'd like to offer you the floor at this moment.
Going to put the sacrificial lamb out first, is that it?
Well, they say you don't come in as a lamb and go out as a lion, so there's always an opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start my remarks by first reiterating what the chairman said. We appreciate you all coming out. Probably some of the, I think, most enjoyable moments I've had as a county commissioner is going back to some of the more controversial issues like the A1 Wally when these chambers were filled, and the fact that at least our local government, we sit here and we encourage and welcome the comments from the community. And I can only say I wish y'all would come out more often. We had our budget hearing and we had more commissioner wives sitting here than people from the public. So I appreciate y'all coming out. Please come out more often. I think I can speak for the whole board. We like having you here and being part of the process. I heard your concerns very loud and clear, and I don't want to let you think that I belittle your concerns. I don't want you to think I ignored your concerns. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale as well. Born down there, grew up there, went to school, and I saw what poor planning and poor growth can do. And when I moved here to Indian River County in 1984, I think it's the same. I think it was Toby saying, you know, when you come over that bridge heading back north, the tension goes out of your shoulders. You start to relax. And every time I drive south to visit family, I tense up until I hit that bridge heading north again. So I want y'all to know that no one will fight harder to preserve our quality of life than I will. And it is very important to me. I raised my 3 children here. I want them to grow up, be married, have kids, and bring their families back to Indian River County because they know it's a good, safe community to raise their kids in. So I just want to let you all know I am very much understanding of your concerns and very supportive of your desires to create and keep this quality of life that we have. A couple of the concerns I heard, though, was one is it's a faceless bureaucracy. You know, a couple of speakers identified themselves. I sit on the executive committee, and so I have seen the faces of the executive committee. And it is people like Dr. Ed Massey of Indian River State College, who I think this entire board holds in high esteem for what he's done to advance what used to be a little community college to now think they're rated the 3rd most affordable college experience in the country. And if you saw the news last week, they are having a record number of 4-year degrees awarded coming up from the expansion of their program to become a state college. So Dr. Ed Massey is part of the executive committee looking out for the secondary education interests. Doug Bornick, the executive vice president of the Indian River Citrus League, is a member of the executive committee looking out for the interest of landowners of over 200,000 acres of ag land. And Doug is on that executive committee, again, someone I think is well respected by this board, looking out for the interest of the ag owners and agricultural interests. A lot of people here can't wait till Florida Power and Light hopefully takes over the city power plant. and I'm going to butcher his name, and I apologize, but Don Kozalewski, the area manager for FP&L, is also on the executive committee as a business interest. So here's someone representing a large corporation that we want to bring and further expand into our committee, is on the executive committee for 750. And those are just a few of the people, and I know it's hard for you all, having not been to the meetings, having not sat with those people as these discussions have gone forth, and I can understand your concerns, and I can understand your fears of this faceless or nameless bureaucracy. But I have been a part of it. I have seen the quality of the individuals involved, and while I do understand and respect your concerns, my experience is I don't see something that I need to be afraid of working with these folks. One of the other fears is that we will lose our local control, that we won't be able to back out. And I just want to read a couple excerpts from the statement of organization. The Southeast Florida Regional Partnership is a voluntary, non-governmental entity comprised of various public, private, and nonprofit/civic organizations committed to working together. Further states that as a voluntary, non-government entity, the partnership has no legislative or statutory authority to mandate or enact any specific legislation. So regardless of what the plan eventually states, there is nothing in the organization of 750 that will allow any part of it to be mandated to Indian River County. There is absolutely no legislative or statutory authority to mandate any part of the plan. And finally, any partnership member may terminate its membership in the partnership effective upon written notice from the organization delivered by U.S. mail. So in the organizing documents, to me it clearly states it's voluntary, there is no mandate, there is no legislative authority, and we can opt out at any time that we want to. The question I have, I guess, is opting out now going to be any better than waiting and seeing what the final plan is and then opting out then if we don't like what we see? My concern is if we opt out now, there might be things in that plan that might have a negative impact on Indian River County. And I would rather be down there fighting to protect our rights, to protect our interests, protect our quality of life, than to sit here and opt out and then just pretend like the whole thing is going to go away. Now, I am absolutely sure that there will be parts of the plan that don't fit Indian River County. I think anybody will tell you, and I think folks like Peter Robinson will tell you, that the more units you can put on an acre of land, the more efficient it is. 10 units per acre is a more efficient use of the land than 2 units per acre. As a developer, he says, yeah, I can sell more units, I can make more money. Cost of land is the same, but if I can sell 2 products or sell 10 products, I'd rather sell 10 on the same cost for land. That might be in the plan, that there are more efficient uses of land at higher density. It does not mean we have to accept that for our county. There might be things in the plan that have a great benefit to our county. There was discussion about a federal energy policy. I personally would like to see a natural gas pipeline running down the I-95 corridor and the creation of natural gas filling stations along the way. Toby Hill could still drive his personal car, he'd have his independence, but he might want to switch over to a natural gas engine, use a domestic energy source, and lower his fuel cost. I see that as a benefit to the county. I see CVS distribution plant out there, a great partnership in the community. They send hundreds of trucks down into that region, delivering the supplies to the CVS stores. I think a natural gas station out there at I-95 and State Road 60 as part of a larger regional pipeline would be a huge benefit to them without impacting our home rule, without impacting our quality of life, but reducing their costs, cleaner form of energy, a domestic form of energy, and a benefit to a large employer here in the county. So that would be a piece of the part, I would say that, yeah, we want to be a part of that. We want Indian River County to be included in that pipeline. And that kind of goes to the federal funding issue. Those are the kind of projects I envision what the federal government is saying to us that they're going to invest in. Large infrastructure projects that affect a region and benefit the region. And I understand the whole thing about the federal debt, but we saw with the bullet train, we say no, it just goes to another state. And the other state gets the jobs. Folks, you paid for it, but instead of jobs in Florida, there's jobs in California and jobs in Michigan. And I don't want that to happen to our community because we were afraid to look at what the final plan is. There's a lot of talk about Agenda 21, and I won't go into all that, but there's a lot of things that Mr. DeWeese, and I did watch his presentation. So, Paul, I did my homework. There's a lot of things that he said were bad parts of Agenda 21 that we actually do here in Indian River County. He said open space is part of Agenda 21, and that's bad. He said a comprehensive development plan is part of Agenda 21, and is bad. He said that historical preservation is a part of Agenda 21 and is bad. He stated that greenways, bikeways, and rails to trails are all part of the Wildlands project of Agenda 21 and must be eliminated. Now, I don't think there's anybody sitting here that would agree with those points of view. I was a little surprised. I think it was Mrs. Cook who said, don't give land to the animals. We have Pelican Island National Wildlife Refuge, established in 1903, the very first National Wildlife Refuge established in the United States for the protection of the animals. And I think everybody here points to that as one of the gems in Indian River County, that we have preserved open space for the environment. And so, if we really want to go down that path, is that something we want to get rid of? I don't think so. I think that's part of what makes Indian River County so special. But according to the folks against Agenda 21, open space, preservation of land for animals is bad. So I don't want to go down that path. So, well, but y'all are asking to go down that path. So, I guess in summary, if we think we can get out of the plan now with no damage, that if we opt out now, we're free and clear and nothing will affect us going future, then I believe we can apply that same logic and opt out later. Once the plan has been written, we can see what it is, and we can opt out again with no collateral damage. So I'm going to say, my opinion is we stay in the process, we stay engaged, we make sure that we work to protect those parts of the quality of life we have in Indian River County to ensure that is part of the long-range future of the region. And those things we don't like, we don't have to take. It's really that simple. So I know, obviously, the majority of you won't agree with that, and I understand that, and I appreciate y'all's opinion. But I just think that one of the things we need to do is to be engaged. Doesn't mean we have to agree, doesn't mean we have to follow, but we can be engaged, and then at the right time, make that decision whether to opt out or not. And I just don't believe this is the right time right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner Davis?
Well, I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I know what Mrs. Cook was getting at when she said giving land to animals. She's talking about a beach mouse over there stopping everything. And raising that to the level of insanity that we see, it's not about the open space, it's not about the bikeways. The key thing about the open space and the bikeways that you mentioned, Commissioner O'Brien, in my opinion, is they were ones that were decided right here. They were decided here locally.